Story 1. Caught dead stop. Watching the weather out of a screen is one thing, but being caught in the midst of a thunderstorm is a whole different situation. That's not even the main cause for concern, no. It's the act of being caught in a thunderstorm while standing on the side of a highway, all because of a flat tire in one of the most populated cities in America. I run my fingers down my wet face. Gazing upon a disappointing tire, I grit my teeth. I don't even have a second tire. Most of my tools are back home in New Jersey. This was supposed to be a day trip and not a designated day to tidy up my broken truck. Harsh wind whips on my back as cars speed by. Everyone drives so ridiculously fast. Eyes of nosy people bore into my soul, but being watched by strangers is the least of my concern. I was hopping back in my car. I just called my dad, but I don't want to. I know how to change a tire. It's not tire problems I'm calling him for. My father is a meteorologist, and he's offering me an intern position in cinematography for the summer. I have an interview for it in... I glance at my watch. Supposed to be starting in 20 minutes. The line rings, but there's no answer. Figures. He's on television. Of course he isn't going to pick up. Hard rain pelts down upon my busted 2002 pickup. As far my eye can see, ash-stained clouds blanket the Brooklyn sky. Every time a car zips past, my truck jostles slightly, and this wind isn't helping. When the storm picks up, my pickup is going to turn into a ping-pong ball between the horrid wind and speed demons. My irritation is growing as fast as the detrimental storm rolling in. I can't be late. I'm never late. And just sitting here, appearing like a damsel in distress to the observing eye, makes my hands clench onto the steering wheel. As a burst of thunder rings out, I snap to reality and realize I'm carving scratch marks into the wheel. Something else besides anger is brimming under my tight-cut schedule. My arms and legs are tense. My palms are damp from holding on so tight to the wheel. My mouth coils into a deep frown. Bright lights in the rearview mirror catches my attention, furrowing my brows. My irritation slowly slips away as I watch the lights come to a dead stop. From the downpour rain, it's hard to see what type of vehicle it is, but it's definitely behind my own truck. When the lights die out, my heart drops. It's police right there. They are here to give me a ticket for parking on a busy highway in New York. Sitting tightly, a figure comes to my window. Before I hear a knock, I'm already rolling down the window. The sticky air and warm rain waft my face, but I pay no attention. It's not a police officer, and it piques my interest greatly, but it has me on edge. Instead, a man draped in a suit with a faded baseball cap perched on his head is standing outside my door. Even if he's not law enforcement, this man has a twinge of something dark woven in his dark grey eyes. The way he's holding himself, he's standing confidently. He's looking me in the eye and isn't batting any attention to his soaking suit. He may have a warm smile playing on his lips, but it does not reach his narrowed eyes. My dad taught me that. To get anywhere in life, learn to read body language. That's what people notice first, even if it's unconscious. That's how my dad became a prominent face in the news production industry. He uses body language as a weapon to become charming to anybody. Got a flat tire? Speaking, he tilts his head. I couldn't help but notice. He gestures, but I narrow my eyes at him. Yeah, I say flatly. He nods. I could help. I got a spare. His eyes flicker to his vehicle, my mouth agape. I slowly glance between him and the rearview mirror. I can just make out that his car is a cream color and definitely not modern. Maybe more so of a vehicle from the 1980s, but the air conditioning from my car and the humidity from outside fogs up my back window. I start, but he then laughs. Oh, my name is Ivan. I'm a mechanic. This is just a bachelor party I'm going to. Ivan gestures to himself before letting out a hand. I don't want to go, so I'm more than happy to help. Free of charge. The once hint of deviousness in his eyes fades into sincerity. Patrick. My single word is slow and skeptical. I take his hand nonetheless. His touch is awfully warm and firm. My mind flickers to my father and to the intern interview. When I look at my watch, only 10 minutes were left before I was supposed to show up. The pressure is on me, and the fear of being late is heavy on me. I clean my sweaty hands with my jeans and look at Levan carefully. He shrugs. I'm already late as it is. I don't really care if I go or not. Besides, your truck has seen better days. He looks my vehicle up and down. Sass is written in his face, a stark comparison to a high school mean girl judging an outfit. As I open my mouth to defend my beaten vehicle, a roll of thunder plows through as lightning cracks through the sky. He points to the atmosphere. You're sitting on the side of a highway. The storm is just getting started. He tilts his head. You gotta have places to go. Can't have you stranded, right, Jersey? Smirking, he gives me a knowing look. Even through the dense rain, he noticed my license plate. My eyes narrow at his new and unwanted nickname for me. However, I do have places to be. As little balls of hail start to fall from the sky, my soul goes into a tug-of-war between the need to not be late and the want to not give in to this creep. He keeps tilting his head side to side. Raindrops are falling down his face, yet he doesn't blink. The hail doesn't even flinch. Ivan can see the gears turn in my head. I'm not going to charge you if that's what you're thinking. He raises his hands in surrender, but it's extremely brief. For a moment, I swear I saw a glimpse of something bright red on the palms of his hands. Not blood, but something that strangely resembles raw burn marks. I can't and don't comment as Ivan is quick to continue. You don't even have to leave your truck. Very simple. He offers with nonchalance. Under the brim of his cap, there is sincerity and an inviting smile. But how he's hiding his hands in his navy blue trousers is not going past me. However, Ivan is my only hope. What makes it worse is that Ivan knows that himself too. He can see I have no other choice, and it makes his simple glances feel like he's staring dead into my soul. I have an interview that could make or break my future, and sitting on the side of a highway with a flat tire is a bit pathetic, if I do say so myself. I glance upon my watch nervously. The interview is supposed to be starting any minute, and I'm fighting against a guy who's offering free help. Maybe risking any possibilities with a stranger is better than a no-show. Letting out a hard sigh, I let my head nod. All right. Sure, I'll take your offer. Hesitantly, I watch as his smile curls into a devious grin. Wonderful. He pauses. I'll get to it. Ivan then walks back to his car. He is gone finally, and I can hear the sound of cars passing by me. I felt like my truck is shaking as they speed past, and I clench my teeth. Why people drive so fast? What is the hurry? The clouds sag with ambiguity and despair. Hail dissipates back to hard rain as little tinks bouncing off vehicles and concrete can be heard. Another rumble of thunder roars loudly in the air. It's like I'm at a bowling alley as the thunder is as deafening as players striking pins out. My attention moves between Ivan in my rearview mirror and to the bustling pool of vehicles. The storm is growing stronger, and people still zip by way faster than they need. The wind is threatening to blow my truck over, yet irritation is brewing under my skin. I'm watching time tick right by me as I am motionless. I'm trapped between what I could potentially be and what I already am, because the aspect of time keeps slipping through my fingers. I hear the snapping of my bones because of the cruel time crunch. Everybody is moving so fast, but I'm caught dead stop in the eye of the storm. A huge stormy clouds are hanging over Brooklyn, looks like it's watching and waiting. Cars pass by so fast they blurs, and it makes me angry. I want to move fast too, to be on time for meeting, but I stuck, like my feet are sinking into the floor of my old truck. Suddenly a loud clap of thunder crashes, and I can feel it shake through my feet. I think the world was split in half by the sound of the detrimental roar. As the rumble fades, I realize something that makes my soul come to a dead stop. I'm being a hypocrite. I want to rush. I have places to be, things to do. Yet it's so easy for speed demons to get under my skin. I point fingers. Meanwhile, I drive fast myself, hence why I blew my tire out. That, and I also ran over glass. Oops. Hard knocking on my window makes me jump in my seat. I roll down my window. So, you got a new tire? Ivan gestures, but I can't see. I didn't notice he finished or when he even started. I nod along to his words. Oh, cool. Thanks. I reply awkwardly. Smirking, Ivan lowers his head. He's staring at me weirdly. He has a hint of evil playing on his lips. No problem. Saying slowly, he examines my truck with judgment. See you around, Jersey. Winking, he strolls back to his vehicle in the heavy rain. Even if he's leaving, his aura lingers and it makes my skin crawl. Stalking him through my rearview mirror, I observe as he flickers on his headlights. His car growls awake. It's not like any engine I ever heard. Maybe because it's an old car or whatever. I shake my head. If I speed my way to the news production site, I'm sure I still have a shot with that interview. The growling of the car grows louder until it's directly in my ear. I turn expecting to see Ivan by the side of my pickup, but instead my heart drops. It's Ivan, but not Ivan. His body is melting into the driver's seat. His face is melting, yet a malicious smile still plays on his cruel lips. His dark grey eyes are so sunken in, the eye sockets in his skull are visible. I can't even tell where his arms and hands start and where the steering wheel ends because Ivan literally is the car. The wheel and his skin is a bright red. There is smoke radiating from the wheel. The inside of the car is the inside of something alive. It's muscles that I can see vibrating from my seat. It's breathing. The car is breathing. I cannot put to words what I'm seeing, yet I'm too afraid to look away from the disturbance I'm enduring. My stomach is turning over. I can't even blink. Ivan rolls up a very dark window before speeding away like a flicker of light. A speed demon. A real speed demon. Watching him disappear in the dying storm, I realize that maybe being late isn't such a bad thing after all. Story 2. The Bad Samaritan. It can be cold in London. Damned cold. On such a night as this, 50 years ago, I was in the Limehouse district, down by the river. Heavy fog wreathing everything in vagueness, mingling with the foul smoke of coal fires drifting past to make a choking, almost unbreathable atmosphere. I had my scarf wrapped around my face, but it had little effect. I began to cough. I needed to get away from this poverty-stricken area of the city. I tried to find a hansom cab, but none were likely to come into this area. Haggard prostitutes lined the damp streets in alcoves or doorways. One approached me, bedraggled, toothless. A yellow light from the windows of a nearby pub, muffled by the fog, lighted her face. "Looking for a good time, dearie?" "No, thank you. I'm just after a cab." I was feeling more nervous by the minute, understandably. I was too well dressed for this part of town. I looked like a potential source of wealth for anyone with a knife. I carried a stick, but I could see that against a determined opponent, or a group of them, I would stand little chance. Why had I come here in the first place? It was madness to set out so late in the day, particularly in so thick a fog. Dusk had come much faster than I had expected, and I had lost my way early. What had seemed a simple, easily accomplished journey had turned bad remarkably quickly. My mission seemed pointless now. I should at least have waited till morning, and have come accompanied, perhaps with a bodyguard. As it was, I doubted that I would find my destination in the obscurity that surrounded me, and my situation seemed to be becoming more precarious and dangerous by the minute. A man approached me, his wrinkled, rat-like face grimacing in what he probably thought was a winning smile. "Spare a shilling, Gov. I'm down on my luck. Just need a little to tide me over. Have something to eat, maybe somewhere to sleep." I recoiled in horror. I shuddered to think what would happen if I reached for my wallet. Too much temptation there. But I had a few coins in my fob. Perhaps I could help this man, and perhaps he could help me find my way out of this labyrinth of narrow cobbled streets, overhung on both sides by run-down derelict housing, which should have been condemned and pulled down years ago, but which certainly housed many people in poverty and squalor. Men, women, children with too little to eat, too little space, too little money, scraping a living somehow, not too careful about legalities when it was a case of steal or starve, and life was cheap, my own included. Could I trust this man? Or if I gave him a coin, would it attract a host of other beggars, all insistent on getting their share of this unexpected windfall? And if a toff vanished one foggy night, his body to be retrieved sodden and stinking from the nearby Thames a day or a week later, who was to know how that had happened, or who was responsible? Policemen, if they ventured here at all, would have done so in pairs or in gangs, for self-protection. And anyway, who would care? The man became insistent. "What? You got no money for a poor man, a toff like you?" And then, like wolves around a cornered deer, other men began to join him. "What you doing in a place like this, pal?" asked one, fingering something in his coat pocket. "I reckon you could afford a bit of money for a few downtrodden coves like us. Eh, fellas?" he asked, smiling at the other men, grimy, tattered clothing, dirty faces, missing teeth, an evil look on their faces. I felt like turning and running, but I felt that would be the worst thing to do. I grabbed hold of my stick, but I could see I was in bad trouble. The men began to converge on me. I could tell that it would only be a matter of moments before one or more of them would be behind me, and that would be the end. I was young, but no fighter. I fully expected to become a police statistic. Poor fella. Dunno what he was doing in a place like that. A toff like him, a form of suicide if you ask me. Then all at once a coach came down the narrow cobbled street, almost scraping the rotting buildings on either side. A hand appeared out of the window and scattered coins onto the cobbles. Not mere shillings either, golden sovereigns. The men dived to grab them, squabbling over the spoils. They weren't looking at me anymore. "Quick, get in," came a voice as the door swung open. There was a coat of arms on it, but I couldn't make it out in the dark. I immediately climbed inside, and the coachman whipped the horses to a gallop. I was safe. I turned to thank my rescuer, richly and expensively dressed, well-groomed, bearded, handsome, smiling. Over his clothes a black cape with a scarlet lining, obviously a gentleman, and considerably better off than me, perhaps in his late 40s or early 50s. Thank you very much. I was beginning to get very concerned. This is not a very safe place. I hadn't intended to be here this late, or at all, in fact. I got lost. Where were you trying to get to? Perhaps I could help. It's on the docks. I thought I knew how to get there, but obviously I was mistaken. I'm a ship's chandler. There's a ship tied up at the docks, the Grosvenor. I was to see the captain and the purser to arrange provisions and equipment for them. That's a coincidence. I know the Grosvenor, and where she's docked. I can certainly take you there. It's not far from here. But with all these lanes and alleys, I can fully understand you getting lost. I'm very grateful, I said. I was surprised to see someone like you in an area like this by choice. Oh, I'm sorry. That sounds like I'm prying, and I certainly had no intention of doing that. Not at all. I find this area of London very interesting. I'm a medical man, a surgeon, and I am extremely interested in the effects of the conditions these people live under on their physical development. Some terrible deformations, I'm afraid, and of course all the expected diseases, rickets, poliomyelitis, malnutrition. I interest myself particularly in the so-called ladies of the night. They live harder lives than most, out in all weathers, dominated by their pimps, addicted to strong drink to make their miserable lives a little more tolerable. I can do little to help them, I'm afraid, but I do what I can to relieve them of their misery. Well, I'm very grateful to you. I believe those men meant business. Oh, they certainly did. It's fortunate I arrived when I did, otherwise you would most certainly have ended up in the river, stripped naked and dead as a doornail. I blanched at his words. I'm so sorry. We surgeons have a rather grim sense of humor, and we sometimes indulge it at inappropriate times. Those men interested me, though. You can call them scum or gutter scrapings, but they're human beings for all that. Do you have a philosophical frame of mind? I suppose so, to the degree I'm able. I doubt that I'm a very deep thinker, though. Do you ever ponder the riddle of existence? Why people cling to life when it's so unpleasant? Is life then so precious that we are willing to put up with poverty, with pain, with brutality and addiction and starvation, just to live a few more brief moments? What kind of life can these people look forward to? More of the same for the rest of their lives, until they can no longer drag out their miserable existences for themselves and end up in the workhouse, or starving to death miserably in some gutter. Surely death would be better, a release from such suffering. I often wonder about what these poor women who walk the streets have to look forward to, what they can possibly gain from lives of such misery and squalor. Wouldn't it be kinder to free them from such torment? Well, of course, but how to do it? The government can do only so much, the church helps to a certain degree, but how does one deal with such widespread poverty? Very true, but perhaps we can relieve individuals, one at a time. Individuals sunk so far into degradation that anything would be a release. Even death. He smiled, but his smile was not reassuring. The coach turned a corner with a squeal of iron-rimmed wheels against the cobbles, and there were the docks, the Grosvenor tied up right in front of us. I smiled and thanked my rescuer, shaking him by the hand. I noticed his medical bag on the seat next to him. Off to help another unfortunate, I gather? Yes, you could say that. Can I advise you to stay aboard the ship overnight? I think it would be considerably safer, and perhaps ask for an escort in the morning. You're right, this is not a good area. I'm sorry, I never thought to ask you your name. Mine's Cartwright. Well, I'm glad to make your acquaintance, Mr. Cartwright. For my own reasons, I prefer to remain anonymous. You can call me Jack. Well, thank you again, Jack. I'm very grateful for your help. Think nothing of it. It's a gentleman's duty to help ease people's lives, to relieve their suffering. Otherwise, what would the human race come to? Smiling, he knocked on the ceiling of the coach and it moved off. The fog was still thick and I was glad to enter the warmth and safety of the ship. I took his advice, and once our business was done, I begged the captain's indulgence to allow me to spend the night aboard and leave in the morning with an escort. He was only too happy to oblige. It was not until I got to the office next day that, as was my wont, I picked up the newspaper that was placed upon my desk every morning. I had been intending to go straight to the shipping pages to see what ships had arrived and those that were ready to leave, as I did every morning, but the large headline on the front page caught my eye. "Ripper strikes again. Another woman murdered. Who is Jack the Ripper? I'm an old man now, but to this day I wonder about the identity of the man who helped me that night. Surely just a coincidence. Surely. Story 3. Interview commencing 1400. Present, Anthony Major, investigating officer. DI Linda Anders, Ms. Armstrong's friend, Anne Gilmore. For the recording, Miss Armstrong, please would you confirm your name and your address? The DI stopped. I am Louise Armstrong. I was about to live in the student block, Block D, for the first year of my astrophysics degree. I don't understand. Why am I here? Her voice trembled, exposing her fear. Please, I just want to go home. Linda leant forward. Louise, please don't be frightened. You aren't in any trouble. We just need to understand what happened to you. And I suspect that was frightening enough. Her senior interrupted her, deciding that informality was better. Linda, let Louise talk. We need to hear what she remembers. Don't imply that we know more than we do, which, let's face it, is next to nothing. Louise, as my colleague says, you're not in any trouble and you will be going home as soon as we are finished. Whether you will ever want to return is another matter. Deciding that it might help Louise to be able to face whatever had happened to her, Linda asked for some background. Tell us about Freshers' Week, Louise, from the beginning. I come from Brisbane. I arrived at the train station and joined other students heading into the university grounds. After settling into my rooms, I went down to the welcome party. She paused, clearly embarrassed, and Anne chuckled. Louise, you're a student. They aren't here to judge you. Louise grinned nervously. Sorry, I got the worse for drink. Well, tipsy anyway. That's when Haru appeared. He helped me back to my room, made me feel safe. She started. Nothing happened that evening, but we got together the next day, and Haru seemed meant for me. Her voice quietened a little as she tried to remember. When I look back, though, I'm not sure he told me much about himself. His conversation was always about me. We had sex in my room on the third day. I'm sorry. She stopped again as she started to cry. What happened to him? Try and finish your story, Louise. It was Linda encouraging her. And remember, we were all students ourselves. Not that long ago. We really aren't seeking to judge you. Louise nodded. Her face still reddened with her embarrassment. We spent a lot of time in bed after that, usually in his rooms. I wasn't sure the first time, but he was insistent that we should use his bed. It was bigger, he said. She stopped again, gulping for air. Saturday afternoon, we made love again. Afterwards, he went to the bathroom. I was still hot from the sex, waiting for him to come back. I wanted to have him again. Oh, fuck it, I sound like a tart. I'm not. She almost whispered. He wasn't my first boyfriend. I'd had one before, which didn't work out. Haru made me feel good, and I wanted him, but when he came back, he was different. So different. He stumbled. His movement wasn't right, and then his eyes. They weren't his eyes, she screamed as she relived her terror. Do you want a rest, Louise? Talk again later? This time it was Anthony who gently interrupted. No, I need to finish this. Louise's anger suddenly erupted. It simply wasn't Haru anymore. Something had invaded his body. God knows I don't know who or what, but my Haru wasn't there anymore. He or it tried to rape me. It would have been rape. It wasn't my lover. Then, there, look. I know you won't believe me, but that is what happened or would have done, but... Tears mingled with her gasps for air again. First, it transferred my mind into its mind. It was like an upload. I was primitive, it thought at me, but I would only be a brief inconvenience. I heard all this within my head or mind or wherever I was. It wanted to know what sex was about. It seemed to be a mystery to it. It started to lower Haru's body onto mine to have sex with it. Then she came. Who was that? I don't know. She had penetrated its mind in some way, the thing I mean. She was warm, caring, it was angry. I sensed its thoughts that nothing should be able to invade its processing arm. At least that's what I think it was thinking. It looked around and I saw her through its eyes. She was naked, her body looked perfect, and she was beautiful. She offered herself in place of me. Louise's tears returned as she continued. She told it to transfer me back into my own body, but it muttered, that's how it seemed, about transferring me to a storage place. Before it could transfer me, it discovered that it could not find the bot. I think that was what it needed. It wasn't happy at that. My God, what was it? We have no idea, Louise. We hope to learn from you something, anything to identify it. Linda was close to tears herself, and the others in the room were all emotional themselves to a degree. The woman repeated her demand that I be sent back to my body. It was, I think, her requirement for it to be able to mingle, whatever she meant by that. I started to pass out again, but I caught some of its thoughts. It was determined to capture the woman. It didn't think she was real, that she was an AI, and restraining her, taking her prisoner, seemed very important. Then I found myself back on the bed. I started to curl up to block its intentions. That was when she called to me. I mean a real voice, not just in my head. She told me to run, to hide. I ran, but only a little way, and I looked back through the doorway. And you saw something? Something odd? Linda's voice was as gentle as possible. Yes. Haru's body seemed to freeze. It only took a moment, but the woman, she was a real woman, I am convinced. Whatever powers she had that we don't. She turned to the window, which I saw, then was open and stepped out. She seemed to be compelling the thing to follow. It looked humanoid but had no features. Eyes that were slits, no nose or mouth that I could see. As that happened, Haru's body collapsed, as if empty. I wanted to stop her, to cry out, but coward that I am, I just watched. We were on the 7th floor, but she didn't fall. She and it just vanished. I grabbed my clothes and ran into the next door apartment, dressed and then hid in the wardrobe. I'm sorry. I was terrified. It might have come back for me. There might have been others like it. I waited until dark before I tried to get to my own room. Your people found me, and scared me to death again. They asked stupid questions like where was everyone else. I was taken to the hospital and made to undergo an MRI scan of my head. Then they brought me here. They said I had to stay and explain why I am the only one. I still don't understand. No one will tell me what they meant by the only one. Her tears returned as she shrank back in her seat, scared that they really wouldn't let her go. It took a few moments before anyone felt able to answer Louise. Finally, Tony nodded in the direction of Linda. Before I explain, Louise, is this the woman who rescued you? Linda showed her a photograph. Louise looked hard at the picture. I think so. But she was better looking. Wait a minute, I know that face. That's that astronomer who was murdered almost a year ago. Why are you trying to trick me? Now she was angry again, her emotions struggling with what seemed a misleading question. Sorry, Louise, I'm not trying to trick you. Try this one. Linda had a second picture. This time the figure was of a naked woman, clearly in Haru's room next to what Haru had become. The young student's gasp was enough to make her answer redundant. That's a photo of her in the room, and, oh, she does look like the other one. And that's me on the bed. But how? Realization dawned. There must have been a camera in the room. The bastard. He was filming us, wasn't he? Linda nodded sympathetically. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. It took some research, but we finally identified him, and Haru was not his real name. You don't need to know more now, but he is or was known to various law enforcement agencies and wanted in 3 states, as well as in his hometown in Japan. Louise was clearly seething at being taken in by that man, but you haven't answered my question. Louise, you may find this difficult to believe, but you may be the luckiest person alive, in Australia, or anywhere else for that matter. There were other events that caused the military to trigger an emergency response. When the first teams reached the university, they could not find anyone at all. We estimate that there should have been almost 500 people in the grounds, but all they found were 7 bodies, and the next day, you. Those whose bodies were found seemed to still be alive, but there were no signs of response to the medics. Back at the hospital, the horror worsened. The bodies slowly died, but not before medical scans showed 0 brain function, and I mean 0. It is as if their minds had been wiped, leaving the bodies to simply continue, on autopilot as it were. Louise looked at her with horror etched in her face, but her voice was surprisingly steady and quiet. Then there were other things. There must have been, and they did to everyone else what it wanted to do to me, except that the woman stopped it. Oh God, what is happening? I couldn't have stopped it. I was helpless when it attacked me. It would be the same for you all, except we may have allies that we know nothing of. That woman, for example, she is as much a mystery, but she does seem to have escaped with whatever it was. Can I go home now? Louise's question was delivered in a truly plaintive tone. One last thing, Louise. Please. No interviews with the press here or at home until we say, and I think you may be pleased when you leave us. There are people who want to see you. Anthony smiled for the first time, despite his fatigue and fears for the future. That's it for today. It's 15:30. End of interview. An interview with Louise Armstrong.